Earth, one of 8 planets in our solar system, and one of an estimated hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy. Yet the only one we know of with life. In 2025, almost 1,000 new satellites joined the nearly 8,000 already in orbit, giving Earth's inhabitants a unique vantage point on the year's events, on the beautiful planet we call home. 2025 reveals incredible wildlife in the remotest corners of the globe. The year also sees despair and hope, the immense power of nature, and the biggest gathering of humanity the world has ever seen. A view of 2025 from nearly 300 miles above. A perspective like no other. As 2024 draws to a close, from space, the Earth is a picture of calm and tranquility. But the mood could not be more different in the cities around the world. For most, January the 1st, 2025 starts with a bang. But weather satellites over the UK predict a less joyful start for Greater Manchester.
Happy New Year, guys.
I stole something.
A bit of wet weather is no surprise.
This is absolutely terrible. Oh no.
But on New Year's Day, Manchester gets almost a month's worth of rain in just 24 hours. Streets drown underwater and cause 1,000 people to be evacuated. But while this makes for a grey start to the year in the UK, 4,000 miles south in Kenya and Tanzania, the short rainy season brings a miraculous transformation, turning the plains green with new grass. And this prompts vast herds of wildebeest to head south, seeking fresh grazing. It is the largest movement of land animals on the planet, the Great Migration. In January, when they reach the Serengeti in Tanzania, they pause.
In January, they're breeding out on the open plains, and therefore they're very visible. It's a good time for us to do population counts.
And in 2025, the count is being done in a whole new way. They are using satellite images and applying the latest technology.
We now have the power of AI. The model will automatically detect what it thinks is a wildebeest and count with much higher accuracy. It dramatically increases the speed at which we're able to detect them. AI is a game changer. It's revolutionizing the field of wildlife population counting and conservation.
Whilst from space, the Earth may appear serene. 2025 starts with a reminder that humankind lives on a knife edge, always subject to forces far greater than ourselves. January sees North America hit by an Arctic blast that engulfs 30 states. It is the coldest start to a year in America for more than 4 decades.
Oh my God, it's a whiteout!
Blizzards block roads and close airports. And temperatures drop as low as -30 Celsius. It is so cold that newly re-elected President Trump is forced to move his inauguration inside.
The golden age of America begins right now.
But while most of America freezes, it is a different story in Southern California, where the winter is warm and dry. Los Angeles is a city of contrasts. The Hollywood elite live in palatial homes along the beach, or tucked away in exclusive enclaves. But many poorer neighborhoods are spread across the vast urban sprawl. In January, rich and poor alike know that their city is in peril. Months of drought have turned the hills and canyons into a tinderbox. Then, at 10:36 a.m. on the 7th, weather satellites spot smoke. LA's worst nightmare is about to become a reality.
Fire Road is literally on fire.
It begins in the forested foothills of the Santa Monica Mountains.
Hopefully the wind is blowing in the wrong direction.
80-mile-per-hour Santa Ana winds drive the flames forward.
Go, go, go! Look for spots!
And in just 2 hours, the exclusive Palisades district, home to the likes of Tom Hanks and Reese Witherspoon, is ablaze.
Oh no, it's gonna come into this neighborhood now. Damn, bro.
Nearly 200,000 people are ordered to evacuate.
We're here to evacuate as the fire is heading your direction.
Holy, dude, I am actually in the apocalypse right now.
Oh my gosh.
By 6:30 p.m., poorer neighborhoods like Altadena are also consumed by fire. The burning houses visible from space.
I looked outside and it was just like a volcano. Flames everywhere. That's when it hit us. Our house is going to be burnt down.
Over the course of 3 days, trailer parks, historically black communities, and rented homes
I think this is a lost cause.
all go up in flames.
I turned around and said, I don't think we're going to have anything to go back home to.
Their homes, their livings, their lives, and it's a terrible tragedy.
It's just been like something out of a horror film. And just to see everyone lifting each other up, everyone supporting each other, that really shows how special this place is. Yeah.
Trump even mentions it in his inauguration speech.
We're watching fires even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country. They don't have a home any longer.
It takes a week to get the urban fires fully under control. 16,000 homes are damaged or destroyed.
Celebrities are like, we're just going to go to our lake house or we're just going to go to our second home. And I'm like, I don't have anything to my name. We lost our home. Everything we've ever built, it's just gone.
January's extreme weather patterns continue as satellites track a storm leaving the east coast of America. Heading across the Atlantic, it gains intensity and a name. On January the 24th, Storm Eowyn slams into the British Isles.
Storms have just blown up a twister.
And the worst is yet to come.
Hurricane-force winds rip through Ireland, Scotland, and northern England.
It's not something you see on a normal Friday morning.
Thousands of homes are damaged, and entire forests are flattened.
Jesus.
And after 36 hours, it's gone, leaving behind a trail of destruction and a cleanup bill in the hundreds of millions. Satellites look down on India, where the mighty Ganges River snakes through the landscape. In Uttar Pradesh, it meets the Yamuna River, and they are joined by a mythical river, the Saraswati. For Hindus, to bathe at the confluence of these rivers is to wash away sins and open the path to liberation from the cycle of life and death. And here in February, at this sacred place, something extraordinary is happening. Satellites show a megacity rising, with tens of thousands of temporary buildings and tents erected on a site that is larger than Athens. Spanning the waters, 30 pontoon bridges are constructed, awaiting the 600 million pilgrims who will crowd onto the riverbanks in the coming weeks. Yes, that is 600 million, almost 9 times the population of the UK, making this the largest gathering of humans on the planet. The Maha Kumbh Mela. The Kumbh Mela celebrates the alignment of the moon, the sun, and Jupiter. It is a sensory storm of color, sound, and devotion that climaxes on the holiest day, when hundreds of thousands bathe together in the sacred waters. A festival here on Earth, celebrating the celestial, so huge that it is visible from space. While India gathers in spiritual harmony, the picture is starkly different in the Middle East. Satellites have maintained a constant watch over Gaza since Israel launched its offensive in response to the Hamas attacks of October 2023, which killed over 1,000 Israeli citizens. Over 60,000 people have been killed already. A fragile ceasefire, brokered in January, holds for now. But satellite images reveal the terrible destruction. Whole neighborhoods have been totally destroyed. With camps for the displaced swelling, the UN warns of a deepening humanitarian crisis. And amidst the devastation, as 2 million Gazans struggle to simply survive, President Trump offers a plan for the region's future.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. We'll own it. I think the potential is unbelievable. We'll level the site, do something phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute, I don't want to be a wise guy, but this could be the Riviera of the Middle East.
March in the UK sees Britain's busiest airport, London Heathrow, expecting to service over 6 million passengers. With planes landing or taking off every 54 seconds. But on the morning of March 21st, the runways are silent. Nothing is moving. Why? Overnight, a fire breaks out at what looks like an ordinary electricity substation.
Oh my God, that is unbelievable.
But there is nothing ordinary about it. It controls the supply to Heathrow.
It's all dark here, mate.
Unfortunately, Heathrow's chief executive can't be reached. His phone is on silent. Soon, 1,300 flights and 200,000 passengers are going nowhere. And they are not impressed.
Typical England, got no backup plan.
Is Heathrow going to be open tomorrow? Can we get a flight out? We'd like to just know what to do.
Although the fire was extinguished by morning, it takes 2 days for Heathrow to return to normal operations and cost the airport tens of millions of pounds in lost revenue. Remember Butch and Sunny?
Ignition.
They're the two astronauts who came to the International Space Station on an 8-day mission 9 months ago. When their spacecraft developed a fault, they were stranded. Month after month, they have remained relentlessly cheerful. They even stretched their legs with a spacewalk. But now, at last,
SpaceX, the ground is go for approach.
It's time to go home.
Soft capture confirmed. Love ya. Safe trip.
Having circled the Earth over 4,500 times and traveled over 121 million miles, they are embarking on the most perilous part of their long journey.
Deorbit sequence start.
Let's start 2144.
The Dragon 2 spacecraft accelerates to 17,000 miles an hour as it plunges into the outer atmosphere. But slows to just 15 miles an hour.
Brace for splashdown.
As it lands gently in the Atlantic. To be greeted by a recovery crew and a pod of inquisitive dolphins. A happy ending to a very long story.
I feel very fortunate and just happy to be here on Earth. You know, there's definitely times when it was a little bit tough. But living in space is awesome.
You can spend all day sitting there watching our planet. It's just compelling.
Who doesn't love a walrus? These Arctic giants, weighing as much as a small car, spend a lot of time on drifting sea ice. But 2025 sees the lowest levels of sea ice in recorded history, forcing these ocean-dwelling giants onto dry land. Scientists are worried about the impact on the walrus population. The trouble is, no one actually knows how many walruses there are. Spread across some of the most remote places on Earth, carrying out a comprehensive head count is a real challenge. Until now. And the solution is out of this world.
Walrus from space!
Sounds like an old 1950s science fiction film. But in fact, we're creating a 21st century detective story.
We're studying your walruses using satellites. The ability of satellites to go everywhere and get multiple images is absolutely brilliant for us.
But these scientists from the WWF and British Antarctic Survey are not using AI to find our lovable friends.
We're using citizen science. We're using the public to look through thousands and thousands of images.
Over 38,000 citizen scientists have joined the global game of Where's Walrus?
We can track the haul out, when it arrives, when it departs, and how big it gets, which has been really eye-opening for us.
To everyone's delight, digital detectives have uncovered unseen walrus haulouts in Russia, Greenland, and Svalbard.
It's been really revolutionary for us. We've been finding new haulouts that we never knew existed.
The effort is ongoing. But this novel approach to scientific research will help target conservation efforts towards the most at-risk populations and help secure a future for this iconic Arctic species.
Walrus from space!
April in Georgia, USA sees the newly constructed Hyundai Meta plant at full production. It aims to produce 500,000 green machines every year. Just one of over 7 million manufacturing plants worldwide, pumping goods into the vast machine that is global trade. Every day, 50,000 merchant ships, tens of thousands of trains, and millions of trucks transport goods around the world, with the largest importer being the US. On April 2nd, much of this entire global trade flow stops after an executive order from President Trump.
This is Liberation Day, the day that we make America wealthy again.
Trump imposes tariffs on imports to the US, affecting almost every nation on the planet.
Vietnam, we're going to charge them 46%. Taiwan, 32%.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
And the results from the tariffs are immediate. Container ships drop anchor in ports across the world as countries pause deliveries to the US. With China's exports to America plummeting over 34% compared to last year. And in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover's distribution depot fills with unshipped vehicles after it halts exports to the US. The tariffs hit manufacturing powerhouses like Canada,
20%,
Mexico,
25%,
the EU,
20%,
and the Heard and McDonald Islands, hit with a 10% tariff.
Our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far.
A 7-day boat ride from its nearest neighbor, Australia. People haven't set foot on this uninhabited island for almost a decade.
Foreign scavengers have torn apart our American dream.
With no manufacturing plants, infrastructure, or even a single building, the island's only permanent residents 2.5 million penguins.
And you're going to say, you know, he was right.
As April ends, in the UK, satellites spot something unusual in the Derbyshire Peak District National Park. Smoke. A wildfire is spreading quickly. From space, it may not look significant, but this is a special protection area created to preserve important breeding habitats.
We've got some large wildfires that have broken out, and I hope it hasn't done damage to nearby wildlife.
The heather moorland is a key breeding area for rare ground nesting birds. Curlews, golden plovers, and grouse are rearing their young in the heather. And when the fire spreads, there is no escape.
I was about 4 miles away and I could just see plumes of grey. So I jumped in my vehicle and went straight up onto the moorland, and there it was. The flames probably as far as you could see.
For 3 days, the fire takes hold of 800 acres of moorland. The area affected may be small by global standards, but the impact is devastating.
Curlews were up in the air above us, and they were screaming because their nests were all on fire. The grouse wouldn't leave the eggs, so the grouse were actually dead on the nest. Hundreds of grouse just burnt out on top of the eggs.
The local fire service reports that the devastation was caused by a camper not extinguishing a fire.
Look at the destruction that's caused. All the wildlife that died, all down to some plank on a wild camp. This is what you did, you idiot.
One of the most secretive and isolated nations on Earth, and as a result, one of the most spied upon, is North Korea. Every day an army of satellites pass overhead, penetrating the veil of secrecy, revealing hidden grand palaces, brand new water parks, grim labor camps and prisons, naval bases, and in May, the finishing touches being put to a brand new 5,000-ton destroyer, which is cause for celebration for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who will often attend grand launch events. On May 21st, the launch day arrives. But things don't go to plan. From space, the vessel can be seen lying on its side, capsized in the water. There's an attempt to hide the vessel using some blue tarpaulin. But it's too late. The story's out. But whilst Kim Jong-un has the occasional misfire, he still commands a nation armed and unpredictable. Which is why its every move is monitored closely from above.
We're a British investigative organisation using satellite imagery to look at the world's security challenges. For several years, we've been monitoring North Korea from above. We started to see huge, red, large cargo vessels arriving at the port of Rajin that didn't look North Korean. And so we thought, okay, well, this is something different. And then we started to see that they were loading containers, which was very, very suspicious. As the vessel leaves North Korea and it sails 1 or 2 days, you can see them in very low resolution satellite imagery. And then they sail into the port of Nakodka in Russia. That's when we started to think, oh my gosh, wow, this is something really interesting. and then the cargo was loaded onto trains. It takes sometimes a bit of luck trying to follow down the leads, but several weeks later, satellites see those exact same containers arrive in the west of Russia, close to Ukraine. We estimated that through the years that we've been looking at, there were around 15,000 containers, which could account for 6 million artillery shells.
And it's artillery shells that rain down unceasing destruction on Ukraine. The war with Russia is now in its third year. And 2025 sees the total number of people killed reported as 750,000. It's believed around 400,000 of those are Ukrainian.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine. The murders of thousands of people.
Помогите нам разобраться с этими недругами. Это не люди. Такой бесчеловечностью.
Ukraine's cities are increasingly being hit with Russian long-range bombers, delivering missiles and glide bombs from the safety of their own airspace. Their bases clearly visible by satellites. In Ryazan, Ivanovo, Irkutsk, Amur, and Murmansk are up to 3,500 miles away from the border, far beyond the range of any Ukrainian weapons. But for over 18 months, the Ukrainian Secret Service has been planning an audacious raid that will rewrite the rules of modern warfare. In the weeks before, 5 seemingly ordinary commercial trucks are driven into Russia, each carrying a cargo of harmless-looking wooden cabins. What even the truck drivers don't know is that inside those cabins lies a payload of more than 100 drones, each carrying explosives. Once deep inside Russian territory and within range of their targets, June 1st sees Operation Spiderweb spring into action. Hatches on the cabins slide open, and the drone army swarms into the skies. Their target, the 5 air bases and their precious fleet of bombers. Guided remotely from thousands of miles away inside Ukraine, the drones pick off their targets with surgical precision. Tu-95 bombers, A-50 radar aircraft, and the supersonic Tu-22M are obliterated. The strikes confirmed by satellite. The Ukrainians claim that a third of Russia's long-range bombers are disabled as they redraw the battle lines in a 21st century war. "7,000 miles away, in Chile, the vast Atacama Desert is the driest place on the surface of the planet. Its high elevation, cloudless sky, and arid conditions make it the perfect location for the ALMA Observatory. For the last 12 years, ALMA's 66 radio telescopes have given humanity a window into the universe and helped give us our first ever image of a black hole. But in June, scientists who are usually looking up into space get a surprise when they look out of the window instead.
It was a blanket of snow. we couldn't see anything. It was very, very strong.
A freak cold core cyclone transforms over 600 square miles of desert into a winter wonderland and puts the telescopes out of action.
In my 4 years in Alba, I haven't seen something like it. I think this is the first time in 4 years.
A blink and you'll miss it, once in a lifetime event. 3 days later, the snow is gone, and the telescopes return their gaze to space. In the UK, late June sees Britain's farmlands transform into a living patchwork. From orbit, rapeseed fields blaze yellow across the countryside. Wheat and barley quilt the land in greens and golds. Crops of linseed paint the fields in purple. A harvest in the making, written large across the British landscape. But in Somerset, fields usually home to dairy cows transform in a very different way. From space, we can see huge structures appearing in pastures. 4,000 toilets are installed. Thousands of stalls are set out. A veritable city rises in the fields of Worthy Farm, ready for the largest greenfield music festival in the world, Glastonbury. On June 25th, 200,000 festival goers pour in, pitching tens of thousands of tents. The crowds can enjoy almost 4,000 performers whilst basking in the, for once, dry weather. The hottest Glastonbury this decade, for 5 days, becomes the most densely populated city in the UK. So big, it's visible from orbit. It's the 4th of July, and across central Texas, RV parks and summer camps are full of visitors, enjoying the winding rivers, rugged landscape, and the searing summer heat. Nowhere more so than Camp Mystic. For nearly 100 years, this Christian summer camp, nesting on the banks of the Guadalupe River, has been a haven for Texas teens. But trouble is brewing. Warm, moist air over the Gulf of Mexico is colliding with a cold front sweeping south. And on Independence Day, a perfect storm is unleashed. 4 months worth of rain falls in just a few hours.
The word maelstrom comes to mind.
There is a flood warning in effect for this area. The National Weather Service has said that the Guadalupe River could rise to about 15 feet.
This is our house in Texas. We are being flooded right now.
At 1 a.m., satellites show the rainfall intensifying.
There's people in it. Oh my gosh, there's so many people in it.
At 2 a.m., in Camp Mystic, evacuation of the teenagers and staff begins. First light reveals that the Guadalupe River has surged right through the camp, leaving a scene of devastation.
We have a mom, we have a dad, we have a kid, and a dog. They all need rescue.
a declaration of disaster is made by the county sheriff.
Davey on secondary, we're clear for turns.
We have hundreds of officers, deputies, and air, water, canine assets conducting search and rescue.
But at Camp Mystic, 2 counselors and 25 girls as young as 8 years old are missing. And as the hours pass, hope fades.
We're at Camp Mystic looking for our kids. We're looking for places that they're gonna potentially be alive. There's over 20 of them still out there.
The children, little girls who were lost at Camp Mystic. That's every parent's nightmare.
Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
Across the region, over 130 lives are lost, including 27 from Camp Mystic. The power of our planet is both devastating and awe-inspiring. And 2025 has been a prolific year for the most spectacular natural phenomenon of all, volcanoes. In Italy, a crater collapses at Mount Etna with ferocious results. In Indonesia, Mount Lewatobi's eruption is so big, it reaches into the stratosphere.
Tidak tahu sampai kapan penderitaan ini.
Whilst in Iceland, July sees the landscape torn open by a 500-meter fissure. It sends fountains of lava streaming towards the town of Grindavik for the 9th time in under 2 years.
It's difficult to put it in words, to see a town being destroyed in slow motion. I'm very sad about what's going on.
And every day the lava encroaches further, leaving a scar on the Icelandic landscape that can be seen from space. As global temperatures continue to rise, Europe endures its 3rd hottest August ever recorded. In response to devastating wildfires in previous years, European governments have established EFIS. It gathers data from a range of satellites, which create heat maps across Europe to detect fires almost as soon as they ignite and help coordinate emergency services response. On August the 5th, that system is put to the test throughout Europe. At 4:15 p.m., in the blisteringly hot wine region of Ribeau, France, the system detects fire. While crews battle flames on the ground, the space-based detection systems reveal the wider picture. On the 8th, it detects a new outbreak in the Attica region of western Greece. And on the same day, the satellites spot yet more flames in Galicia, Spain. And just 4 days later, another near to Tirana, the capital of Albania. And on the 12th, it shows Europe ablaze, with more than 2,000 active fires burning across 8 countries. But this satellite system doesn't just detect fires, it helps fight them by coordinating responses across borders on a continental scale. And before the end of the month, the most widespread series of fires in Europe's recorded history are finally brought under control. On the other side of the world, on the USA's Gulf Coast, August the 26th sees Elon Musk's Starship rocket preparing for launch.
No issues going into today's launch attempt.
With over 100 SpaceX launches already this year, Musk has seen success with over 1,500 Starlink satellites put into orbit and 4 missions to the International Space Station. But Musk also has interplanetary plans to eventually ship people to Mars. And the mighty Starship rocket is a key part of the project. So far, the success of the 9 test launches has been less than stellar, with many meeting a fiery end.
Whoa! What is that?
The Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
After these spectacular failures, there is a lot riding on Musk's 10th attempt.
3, 2.
At 6:30 p.m., hope is reignited. The Starship mission plays out with near perfection.
Ship engine cut off. Green light demo startup.
And after 66 minutes of flight, the rocket splashes down, as planned, in the Indian Ocean. A big sigh of relief for SpaceX and Elon Musk. Elsewhere in space, over India, research satellites keep constant watch on the Himalayas below, tracking glaciers, weather systems, and signs of instability. On their orbit, they pass over the village of Durali, a farming community in the Uttarkashi Valley, where for centuries, farmers have cultivated the land beneath the frozen Himalayan peaks. But on August the 5th, at 1:45 p.m., disaster strikes. "360 million cubic meters of rock, ice, and earth break away from the mountain, cascading through the valley, obliterating everything in its path." Satellite images reveal the town of Durali buried deep beneath the rubble. The cause is reported as an extreme rainfall event, and almost 70 people are missing, presumed dead. In September, Earth reaches a rare point of balance. The sun crosses the equator, and for one brief instant, day and night are equal across the globe. A fleeting moment of harmony that allows charged solar winds to stream into Earth's magnetic field, igniting a light show of epic proportions. In the north, the Aurora Borealis illuminates the skies over Canada, Alaska, and the UK. And in the southern hemisphere, the Aurora Australis illuminates the heavens above New Zealand and Australia. Their full beauty revealed when seen from space.
We were flying into this astonishing aurora, this rippling, pulsing river of green that's down below us, the red that is stretching up to our altitude. It's like, it was just breathtaking.
As the Earth tilts beyond the equinox, in the northern hemisphere, waters cool, drawing nutrients in the North Atlantic to the surface, awakening vast blooms of microscopic plankton in Canada's Lake Winnipeg. From space, Earth is revealed as a living canvas of color and change. A planet of contrasts and wonder, in perpetual motion. But in war-torn Gaza, satellite images reveal a region losing hope. Towns and cities have been destroyed. Over 68,000 Gazans have died. Nearly 2 million have been displaced, with many living in tented cities and dependent on aid.
كل العيال في المجاعة حدت على كل أهل غزة.
Yet, while Gazans starve, there is no shortage of food available. Satellites show that on the 30th, over 90 aid trucks are being held at the Israeli-controlled border. And the aid that is available builds up, undelivered in depots. The desperation of the people is captured by this satellite image in September, as a crowd of over 10,000 besiege an aid center in Rafah. Their numbers so large, they can be seen from space. UNICEF estimates that in September, over 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza are facing catastrophic hunger. But then, in early October, the lines of trucks begin to disappear as border crossings reopen. Food depots empty as aid flows into Gaza. Satellites capture crowds, tens of thousands strong, heading back to what remains of their homes in northern Gaza. A peace deal is signed.
This is the day that people across the region have been praying for.
President Trump is widely praised, and hostages are at last released. Yet the truce is fragile, and there is no agreed plan for the future. President Trump takes credit for helping secure the peace deal in Gaza. Meanwhile, in Washington, satellites capture signs of change at the White House.
We're building a world-class ballroom. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. Reminds me of money.
On the 20th of October, heavy machinery rips into the historic White House's East Wing. Built in 1902, the East Wing is a much-loved part of the most famous building in the nation's capital city. But it takes construction workers just 4 days to demolish the entire East Wing. Elsewhere in America, a different kind of clearing begins. October in the Midwest means it's harvest time. And across the region, strange shapes are cropping up in farmers' fields. From the ground, these curious creations may be puzzling. But from space, they are amazing. These are spectacular corn mazes. Carved into crops using GPS, vast labyrinths are created and enjoyed. Some with over 30 miles of winding paths.
I've lost my wife and 5 children. Marion!
With over 500 of these creations in the US alone, there are plenty of opportunities to get lost in these giant works of art. In mid-October, weather satellites over the Caribbean are tracking a modest tropical storm.
A lot of uncertainty, the eventual track and intensity of this system located here in the central Caribbean Sea.
Across the tropical Atlantic, sea temperatures are up to 3 degrees above average, part of a long-term warming caused by climate change. And that heat is fuel for the storm. And just 39 hours after it began, this once unremarkable storm has grown into an enormous 180-mile-per-hour Category 5 hurricane, named Melissa. And it's heading straight for Jamaica.
If you're watching from Jamaica, you need to just be ready to ride this out.
And on the 28th, it hits.
Jesus have mercy.
Power and communication collapse across nearly 80% of the island. After only 5 devastating hours, the worst of Melissa passes. The scale of destruction can be seen from space. More than 120,000 homes across the island are damaged or destroyed.
It's terrible, it's terrible. Everything gone.
At least 45 lives are lost in what was not just the strongest storm of 2025, but one of the most intense hurricanes ever recorded. In October, people in the south of the UK look up and see something extraordinary. A streak of light in the night sky. This is not an alien visitation, but a fragment of history from one of the most famous travelers in the solar system. Halley's Comet. Halley appears in our skies only once every 75 years. Last seen in 1986.
It's exciting, but nobody knows how bright it's really going to be.
But its dust lingers for millennia. And each October, Earth sweeps through that ancient trail, igniting those tiny particles. Each one is smaller than a grain of sand. Yet together, they fill the skies over the UK and across the world. A spectacular light show born from outer space. Millions of years in the making. In November, just north of the equator in French Guiana, a rocket lifts into the sky, carrying the Sentinel-1D satellite into space. One of more than 1,000 satellite launches so far this year. But Sentinel is no ordinary satellite. This one could transform environmental science. Normally, satellites need daylight and clear skies to operate. Clouds block the view. Night closes the curtains. But Sentinel is different. Just 2 days after launch, it sends back its first images. This satellite's synthetic aperture radar is a game changer. It penetrates clouds, weather, and can even see in the dark. Its data allows scientists to track environmental shifts across the globe 24/7, day or night, whatever the weather. In Sudan, Northeast Africa, satellites pick up something disturbing. The ongoing civil war between the military and the rebel army called the RSF, or Rapid Support Force, is in its 3rd year. An estimated 150,000 people have been killed and 25 million face starvation. On the 14th of November, the UN tried to turn the world's attention towards this forgotten war.
The war is ripping apart the social fabric with consequences that will reach down generations.
With journalists and aid workers increasingly denied access to the front line, satellites provide the only reliable overview of the unfolding conflict. For months, the fighting is centered on the town of El Fasher. Satellites track the RSF building an enormous earth wall, or berm. By October, it measures 19 miles, totally encircling the city, trapping an estimated 250,000 civilians inside. Then the RSF pour in, posting the panic on social media. Actions so brutal and widespread that they are visible from space. Using satellite images, investigative journalists highlight bodies laying together near the burnt-out remains of their vehicles. The sites of other massacres can also be seen from orbit.
Bloodstains on the ground in El Fasher have been photographed from space. The stain on the record of the international community is less visible, but no less damaging.
In just 3 days, 1,500 people are thought to have been murdered.
We warned repeatedly about the strangulating, suffocating siege, which would result in a bloodbath. But our wake-up calls were not heeded.
In December, from space, the Northern Hemisphere begins to transform. In British Columbia, Canada, Lake Windermere Whiteway freezes, creating connections between communities across its frozen lakebed. In Ottawa, the waters of the Rideau Canal ice over, forming a silver vein cutting through the heart of the city where commuters trade traffic for blades. In England, Hyde Park has been transformed into winter wonderland. the UK's largest winter festival, drawing 2.5 million visitors each year. And in Italy, high above the medieval town of Gubbio, on December the 6th, Mount Ingino undergoes its annual transformation. "3,000 lights trace a 650-meter Christmas tree across the mountain. A celebration visible from space that signals the start of the holiday season for much of the world. But not everywhere. In regions living through conflict, winter arrives just the same, even when celebration does not. In Ukraine, the battlefields freeze over. Across the frontier in Russia, Red Square turns white as the 3-year war grinds on. And in the Middle East, lines on the map are the cause of death and destruction. But from space, the planet is viewed from a different perspective.
From space, you don't see those geopolitical boundaries, all of the man-made boundaries that we've imposed upon ourselves as humans. You don't see any of that from space. You just feel this sense of commonality more, and something that unites us all, and just that we're all human.
I was able to look back at the Earth, and it was like a fragile Christmas tree ornament. You know, it's too bad we don't treat it a little better. It's the only home in the universe. But this tiny little place we call home, it is beautiful from space.
And in his own words, planet Earth is blue and there's nothing I can do. If there was ever an artist with a call into the stars, it was him. Boy, the final act tomorrow night at 10. Up next tonight, these guys are well and truly out of their comfort zone, but that's where the magic lies. Jill Scott and Rose Aylen Ellis on Taskmaster's New Year treat.